I guess we'll just wait for a few minutes for people to join in and then we'll start.
Sure, so we can wait for 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Also, I'll drop a reminder to all the learners
yeah, no
if
worries.
they're joining. So, just wanted to confirm, even if no learner joins in, we can start, right? Or
Yeah, we'll start off because anyways the recording will be available for them, right?
yes, yes, I've
Yeah,
already made it live on YouTube.
sure, sure. Okay.
Sure, sir, sure. Also, yeah. Also, I believe you have my number, right? Myself, Pranjay. Sir, you're on mute. I'm sorry. You're on mute, sir.
Yeah, sorry. I was saying you have been there for quite long time with Upgrad, right? Pranjit
Yeah,
Ross.
it's yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah.
almost like around 2.5 years now.
Yeah. So I think we have been for the same time almost.
Yes, yes.
It's
So, if there's
been
anything,
three and
just
a
do
half,
drop me a
4 years.
message.
Yeah,
I'll
so 70529, right?
yes, sir.
70529 is the number that you have.
No, no, it's changed. I'll drop you a text, sir.
Okay, just
I'll drop you a
drop
text
it.
with my number.
Okay. Hmm. Hey, hi, Subrat. How are you?
Hi, good evening, Professor. I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good as well. You had office today or how was it?
Yes, I had office, just returned from office.
Mhm. Okay. Same for us, both of us. We'll just wait for one more minute. I think then we'll get started.
Sure.
All right, I think we'll get started, and meanwhile, others will be joining in. So, I think, first of all, good evening to all of you, and thank you for joining in for this particular debrief session for the marketing web analytics module. And as a part of this module, this is where we are going to have a quick debrief on data analytics simulation, which you guys would have gone through and probably performed both the trial runs as well as the assessment runs. This was about the strategic decision making, and you will find that when we run this simulation, the simulation delves on a lot of data insights. And on the basis of those data points, we take decisions, we see the results, we run the company for 4 years roughly, and then we measure the performance, how well we did on the aspects of financials like profit, revenue, and let's say from the perspective of competition, we look at the market share. So that was a whole construct which is there for this particular simulation, designed by Harvard Business School and over here particularly by Professor Thomas Davenport. This simulation actually is quite also insightful in terms of what you can carry forward to real life. So from that perspective, I think you would have enjoyed the simulation. Now, before I kind of start off with this debrief, I just wanted to quickly check with you. Are you guys done with your runs, the assigned runs, practice and assessment?
Yes, sir. We are, at least I have completed both the runs.
Okay, great. So then in that case, you guys have you got the results for your batch, as in how much
No,
you have
no,
scored?
the results haven't been published yet.
Okay. Oh, all right. No worries. So over here, what I'll do is I'll kind of take you through the slides, which are standard debriefing slides for this simulation. And we'll also kind of go into the insights which are there, which probably we can take forward and start implementing in real life, or at least can keep at the back of our mind when we are working on uh, projects which are based on data analytics. So over here, on that note, let me take you back to, first of all, uh, what was there as a context provided to you in the simulation. And particularly for B2C markets, when you work in a consumer oriented market, especially in a product role, then you will find that there is a huge amount of data involved, available also. And on the basis of that, we are supposed to take decisions. So in this simulation, you were getting an idea or actually a kind of a virtual know-how of how things would work in a real life situation when you run a company and you take some key decisions. This is something which is where you realize that some industries will tend to be data intensive, and almost every company in the industry is becoming more and more analytical. They want to take data-based decisions. So much of the industry's customer data ultimately comes from barcode scanners like supermarkets. You will see uh, you have the barcode scanners being placed on every product. So there is purchase data at the point of sale, which is usually captured. Now, we can also look at point of purchase data, but there are other assets which have emerged. Let's say if you look at the digital assets nowadays, you have the website, you have the app, you have people interacting with multiple touch points for a company. So all these things can help us to understand more about the industry, competition, customers, and probably this can help us in targeting the right customer, which you guys were also doing in this simulation when you looked at the geographic segmentation, the various other kinds of demographic cuts, and so on and so forth. Then you need to have your own strategy, and there is no one single strategy that will give you the best result. There are multiple ways in which people have done it. Then you start operating the business in the right way. And in this simulation, in that sense, is iterative. You get better from year to year and probably from run to run. And also, you have the options of kind of various marketing decisions. So you have to take those right marketing decisions so that you're able to beat your competitors over here in this simulation. From that perspective, the role that was given to you was that you will be managing Blue brand at Kelsey White. KW was the short form for the company. Now, Blue over here was a brand which was inside the laundry detergent segment. So over here, uh, you realize when you start your simulation that the product itself can be based on various formulations, and these formulations were liquid, powder, and pods. Now, the difference between the formulations will be that the cost would vary. So you start with one particular formulation. If you want to switch, then that's itself a major decision. So you had to kind of take that decision of whether you will keep your blue brand with the same formulation throughout the 4 years when you run the company, or will you change? Okay. You can also start looking into customer insights, revenue data, other aspects, demand data as well. You also see that there is spot sales which is slowing. Liquid 2 was very modern for some customers, but maybe the market was also dynamic. There was also a realization that if you look at Blue's customer base, most of the people were coming from middle ages or actually higher middle ages. The problem when you joined is that there was a downward drift of Blue's market share and profitability. So when you joined as a brand manager, both the market share and profitability was under pressure. So this is where you are brought into the context as a brand manager, and then you're supposed to scale things, turn around things, and scale it up. KW was behind other firms in terms of use of the data and analytics historically. The new CEO actually brought a lot of focus on the quantitative and other aspects of database decision making. The plan was that there should be a vision for, looking at the key information about the market, financials, operational performance, and then grow the brands that the company has. One of the brands is Blue. So this is the context, which is where with this new CEO, you're working as a new brand manager and then trying to turn around things for Blue as a brand. Now, if you also try to connect it with, let's say, the types of analytics that we have discussed earlier in the sessions, where actually we picked up 4 different types of analytics, starting off with descriptive, going up till diagnostic, predictive, and prescriptive. In this simulation, particularly, you would have found that a lot of descriptive analytics was present. Okay, so over here, these reports that you saw on the dashboard, when you start deep diving into some of the reports which were available, these were telling you what has happened in the past, and maybe this can be an input to plan the future, at least the near future. The format of these descriptive reports are generally standard. You generally see the financial statements. There is a particular standard. Dashboard also was giving you picture on market share, revenue trend, profit trend. So there was some trend data that you had when you start the simulation. Now over here, this is where descriptive analytics will help us to understand what is the context in which we are running the business, and particularly for you, in this case, the brand that you were managing, what was the positioning, where were we lacking, where were we doing good? This is something that you try to understand at the beginning of the simulation. In fact, by the end of your first trial run, you should be pretty much aware about the descriptive aspects of it and what is important, what is not important to look at. Then comes the predictive part. So as we discussed earlier, that predictive analytics will be generally looking at the future, and we are trying to predict what will happen based on, let's say, statistical models. Now, over here, one of the statistical aspects which was there was forecasting. Okay, so you were looking at what should be my forecast for production based on the demand. So demand forecast was being kind of provided to you, and then on the basis of that, you had to take decisions on how much production you will do for your product, and you will monitor whether your entire inventory is selling or your inventory is piling up. Okay? If your inventory is piling up, that probably your production decision needs to be looked at, and so on and so forth. There will be cost attached to the inventory. So this is where the predictive analytics was given as a flavor to you guys. In terms of the prescriptive analytics, actually, this is where you guys were coming up with your prescriptive or recommendations based on some of the things which the model was projecting. For example, even in case of forecasting the production, there was a range which was given. Some recommendations were made that, on an average, you should try to produce this much, on the higher side, a particular number, and so on and so forth. But ultimately, it was left to you. What would you do on the basis of the data that you see? Would you increase your price of the product? Would you change, let's say, the production quantities, and so on and so forth? So over here, based on these 3 types of analytics, you start with your trial runs, and then you proceed towards your assessment run. The focus would be that you should be able to beat the competitor You monitor that with the help of market share and revenue and profits. These were the three things. Profit was the key thing, then market share and revenue. Now, interesting thing over here was that there were three brands, Turbo, Fresh, and Store. Turbo was the market leader, and interesting thing was the market leader was the highest priced also. It's something like smartphone industry. Apple is keeping generally their prices the highest, and of course they're a market leader as well in lot of markets. So same thing was happening for you guys over here. You notice that they are focusing on cleaning powder. So powder is the formulation they are looking at. They were heavily advertising, 35% on digital ads, so they were likely targeting millennials. Now, maybe some of you would have changed your, uh, you know, advertising strategy as well. Initially, it is, I think we start off with something like close to 25% equally on all the four advertising channels available. They were the first to introduce pods and liquid formulation, and they have greater sale through retailers, okay, but also in small urban stores. That was the insight which was given to us. If at all you plan to compete with Turbo, if you were competing or trying to compete with Fresh, then they were the second in the market share and even the price positioning. They were focusing on fresh, clean smell. Okay, so for them, they have uh, differentiated themselves. Instead of focusing on what Turbo is doing, they are focusing on being positioned around fresh and clean smell when customers are using Fresh. They were aiming at younger generation, and they had a lot of TV focus. Therefore, during the daytime broadcast, they had strongest sales through mid-sized grocery chains and in powder formulation. So over here, uh, Turbo is selling a lot via retailers. Fresh is selling a lot via mid-sized grocery chains. Store was the mass market brand. Okay, so over here, based on the price itself, with the lowest price they want to keep, and from wherever the product sells, they're kind of ready to push. Okay, now you had to decide whether you will compete with Turbo, Fresh, or Store. So can you guys let me know in your runs, what did you do? Like, which one did you take it up for uh, competing with? Was it uh, Turbo, Fresh, Store? Did you try to increase your price or decrease the price of your product in the trial run, first of all?
Well, I tried to compete with Store brand. The
Hmm.
reason being that was the closest competitor, as I could see from the data.
Okay.
Turbo and Fresh, they were
Hmm.
a little way ahead. So I decided first let me compete and beat the Store brand, and then maybe I will try to
Hmm.
compete with Turbo and Fresh.
Okay. Okay. So you started off with decreasing the prices?
In the first run, I did not decrease the price that much. I kept it pretty much around $6
Okay.
unit price.
Hmm.
I increased it slightly, in fact. However,
Okay.
in the second run, I did try once in one of the years to actually reduce the price till almost I went till $5.
Okay.
So it helped me to increase my market share, but then the profitability took hit.
Hmm. Okay. So actually, this is the question which I was just posting in the chat, was reducing prices affecting your profitability, and what was happening to your revenue?
Yes, that particular year actually I ended up having loss.
Hmm. Okay. All right. And in your assessment run, then did you change your approach or did you keep?
Well, it was in the assessment run
Oh,
actually.
okay. Okay.
Yes,
And
yes.
in trial run?
In the trial run, for most part I kept it around $6.
Hmm.
One of the years I increased it to like 6.75
Hmm.
to get close to maybe I think it was fresh. It
Fresh.
was
Yeah. Yeah.
fresh.
Hmm.
Yes, because as we had discussed in last session, I was trying to price the product close to fresh and see what is happening. So in the trial run, it was mostly around $6 unit
Okay.
price.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So, I think, anyways, you had to kind of think about what is going to be your positioning in terms of being in the market. and it was challenging. It was not very straightforward that we should compete with Turbo or Fresh or Store brand. With Store, the
Yes,
problem was that you end up losing on the profits.
yes. Basically, what increased the market share,
Hmm.
did not actually help in increasing the profitability, and what
Yeah.
actually helped in maintaining or increasing the profitability, it didn't help to increase the market share by a significant percentage.
Okay, so then that's an interesting point. So let's say if you are running this company in real life,
Mhm,
then
mhm.
would you focus on profits or would you focus on market share?
Uh, well, if it is a growing company,
Hmm.
uh, which is yet to be matured, then I would focus on gaining market share, because I know if I
Hmm.
capture more market share, I will eventually get profits.
Hmm.
But if I'm
Okay.
a matured company, I know I have a good enough market share, then I will focus on maintaining my profitability.
Yeah. So basically, what you're saying is, it depends on the life
Stage
cycle
in the
of the
business life
company.
cycle, yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And also, let's say if you become a market leader, then for you, the aim is to retain what you have got. If
Yes,
you are a newcomer, then of course we will try to gain more and more customers.
yes,
At that point of time, I'm
yes,
okay to sacrifice maybe on the profits. And that is what is happening if
yes,
you see in the startup world also, right? For example, if
yes,
you look
yes.
at Swiggy, Zomato, or Ola, Uber,
Mm-hmm,
their hunch has
mm-hmm,
been that let's first get the customers, and then
mm-hmm,
for that we need a lot of funding, which is fine. Initially, the
mm-hmm,
funds are getting available. Then later on, we will try to
mm-hmm,
work in the direction of profitability. Now,
mm-hmm.
it's a
Right.
difficult, risky way to kind of scale, by the way. Traditionally,
Mm-hmm,
companies, when let's say when so much of funding resources were not available, traditionally the business would grow slowly, but they would look at both market share and profitability. So without sacrificing on the profitability too much, uh, there will be a focus on getting whatever market share they can get. So nowadays, in the new world, things have changed. We are okay to sacrifice profitability. We'll get the external funding. We are okay to open our stakes to other stakeholders. And then let's first capture the market share because there's a lot of
mm-hmm.
competition also these days. So
Yes,
first move
yes.
advantage also comes into picture. Okay, fair enough. So I think it's a good uh, assessment that you observed. Now let me show you some numbers as well, which are not specifically for your batch, but uh, it will give you an idea of where do you stand. Okay, so do you remember your profits that you got uh, in your assessment run, the highest cumulative profit? So over here, let me show you one part. So you see on this side, $229 million is a number uh, which
Mm-hmm,
seems to be reasonable. Okay, it's a good effort. Along
mm-hmm,
with that, a revenue of 1705 million is something which people achieved and 8.5% market share. Okay. Now, in the previous batches as well, let me show you some of the highest results. So look at this one, which is where you have market share, a huge market share captured, 21%. I think this is the highest, 21% market share captured, $240 million profit. So profit and market share both have been captured. So that means this person found a very good positioning of the product, and then 1944 cumulative revenue. Okay, so this is quite a good, incredible one. Let me show you others as well. So there is one more which seems to be quite interesting, which is this one. Uh, $243 million, which is higher profit as compared to even this one. Okay. Here, $1861 million is looking like the highest cumulative revenue, and then market share slightly sacrificed, more focus on the profitability. So let me kind of see if I can show you the decision making for these uh, two runs also. Let me just check on this one. Yeah, look at the decision history now. So what this person did was he focused on units to produce, which is like 50 million, then 80, 70, and 50. Okay, so it was not constant. I think the person was looking at the demand and then anticipating it, accordingly was trying to vary the production. The price has been kept very low, 4.95. I think we start with how much? $7 or something?
We start with 6.
$6. Okay. So then this person has reduced price just below, I think $5 is what uh,
Yes, it
mass
says that
market.
for five
Hmm.
dollars or less, the demand is high.
Okay. So this person has just managed it on 4.95 and then increased very slightly to 4.96 to work on the profitability. Okay, very small price increase. Then powder formulation focused on odor elimination and never changed the product positioning. So product has been kept as the same, consistent. Then trade channel spend slightly, I mean, the spend was increased, I mean, slightly higher towards in 2021. Of course, it might be a revenue uh, aspect as well, percentage of the revenue. But let's see, convenience club, all were kind of equal. So equal focus on all the trade channel partner spend. So no major decision taken over here. Media spend as well, no major decision taken over here as well. Okay, so no changes have been made. Let's look at the targeting. Income segments, all income segments, ethnicity as well. Okay, nothing has been changed. I mean, the person went for the broad targeting by keeping the product consistent but just playing with the pricing. So this person has decided that, I'll just play like the mass market player. Okay. So that's
Okay,
how it's,
okay.
yeah. So
So he
this
was
kind of,
wholeheartedly competing with store brand only.
yeah, store brand only. So decided
Mhm.
that, I'll just kill,
Mhm.
like this is like a geo approach. Okay.
Right,
Geo
right, right,
kept it,
right,
uh, as low as possible or free of cost itself. And then other telecom players were wiped out. So that is the
right,
approach.
right,
For now,
right.
real life, you would do this approach if you have deep pockets or
Mm-hmm.
you have huge process efficiencies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, two things that
Right.
very. Okay. Let's go back and let's look at another one.
Mm.
Let's look at.
Well, it is little surprising. Like I tried keeping unit price as $5 for 1 year, I ended up earning a loss. But then he has kept it consistently below 5, and still
Yeah,
managed
because
to
what
get.
happens is at $5, you're at the price of store itself.
Mhm.
But
Right.
$4.5, so in the minds of the customers, just like what happens now, 4.99 is what is the price generally kept. So that
Mm-hmm.
psychological play probably is also reflecting a lot when it comes to
Okay.
people purchasing. So I think there is a lot of
Mm-hmm.
price conscious market over here, which this guy was
Mm-hmm.
able to beat the store brand towards. Okay, let's go back again. Let's see if there are certain charts available. I think we'll be able to see the trend, how it went. I think the report section, right? Okay, so not the report. Let's look at the dashboard itself. So this is how it went for this person. So 21% market share, and look at the revenue. So 2018, I think you guys start with 2018, right? 2019 is where you start.
2019. Yes.
Yeah. So 2019, the profitability actually went down, which was expected, right? Not many
Mm-hmm.
people, I mean, when you're decreasing the prices, of course, your profitability was hit. Not many people were buying, but then in 2020, people started buying. So when all the other brands were falling, Blue was making strides. The profitability again fell and then it increased. So overall cumulative profit, I think, lot came from 2020 when everyone was falling. In terms of the revenue, this is interesting. The shift happened in 2020. So 2020 was a major shift, and after that, he just increased by $1, $0.01, and then there was a slight dip in the revenue. So that's how this person has managed. Let's go back. Let's look at another one. Let's look at another one which is slightly different from this, but $243 million. So this person has got the highest profit. Let's see what this person has done. Okay, so this is the decision history. Now, this is where look at the channel price. The channel price is actually, he's not competing with store brand. The price is $6.95. So slightly the price has been decreased, I think. Uh, then kept it always above $6. Uh, Units to produce are lower as compared to the previous person. The previous person was decreasing the price a lot and was expecting to play on the volumes. This person is uh, slightly cautious about that. And the formulation over here is pods, so not powder. Odor elimination still has been continued with. Okay. In terms of, I think, in terms of the trade channel spend also, there was a slightly higher focus which was selected on convenience and club, less on grocery and mass. Because yes, mass over here probably in the first case was better off. In terms of the media, print and TV has been focused. So I think there has been some conscious thought about the selection of channel and the media, but the audience, I think both of these people have kept it open. Okay, so everyone was included. And targeting all at low price competition, this is what he's trying to do. Consistently reducing the price. Let's see how it went in terms of the dashboard. So this, I mean, obviously this is a slightly more difficult chart to see in real life as compared to the previous one. So this is where over here blue went quite well in 2020, but after that there was a major fall in terms of profitability. Let's look at the revenue as well. So revenue is also slightly dipping in by 2022. 2020 is probably a good year actually for blue for both the cases. Yeah, that's what it is reflecting. Now let's also see one more, just one last, which is, let's look at a very low performance. Okay, so let's say what went wrong. Okay, so let's look at this one. Profit is very low. Market share is also very low. Let's look at this one. Yeah, I think this is not completed. So let's leave this. Okay, so let's look at another one. I guess this probably should be completed one. Yeah, this is a complete one. So here the price has been increased and gone above $7. The problem is the inventory is very low. I mean, the production quantity is very low. So there's a lot of focus on inventory. And one learning is if you're changing your product too much, then probably it doesn't perform well. Okay. So this is reflecting, liquid, powder, then pods, it's all over. So if you change a lot, then people don't like it. So this is where if you look at, let's say for example, for me, if I look at a very simple product, Parle G, I want Parle G to be same as what it was 10 years back. Similarly, there might be other products as well. So this is something which is appearing as a good learning to observe from here. There is variation in terms of trade channel and media spend. So digital advertising was focused a lot. And there was, I mean, very narrow targeting. Okay, so this is very selected segment this person tried to work on, and it didn't go that well. Okay, so targeted approach with same positioning, it continued, but it didn't give major results. All right, so I think these were the things which I had from the simulation results. Let me also mention about a few things which are as questions, which probably would have come to your mind as well when you were working on it. So if you look back now, how much effort did you put into exploring the past data about Blue's performance? Was it helping? Was it uh, not helping? Okay, so what is your take, Subrat? If you look at the historical data about Blue's performance, does it help?
Yes, actually, before taking every single decision, be it
Hmm.
about deciding the unit price or be it deciding uh,
Hmm.
the number of units to be produced, I
Hmm.
was referring to the Blues past performance,
Okay.
how it had been performing and how its competitors have been performing.
Hmm.
So I did invest a good amount of time going through the reports.
Okay. And uh, what filters made you change your decision about improving Blue situation in the marketplace? Like, is there any particular thing you remember that you focused on?
Uh, well, one thing that came out of, in fact, both the trial runs was segmenting, targeting a certain segment of customer was not the way to go.
Hmm.
We had to go with mass targeting,
Okay.
and playing with the prices. I mean, uh, keeping the price mm, not very low or not
Hmm.
very high. That
Hmm.
was one thing that was favorable.
Hmm.
And again, like one learning that I personally got was, although in the social media feed, I was seeing a lot of
Hmm.
comments in the favor of having good fragrance, good fresh smell as the most favored attribute. I stuck to the odor elimination attribute, and
Hmm.
that particular decision did work out in my favor.
Hmm.
Although the comments, they were not, the social media feed was not showing a great picture, but
Okay.
then in terms of market share and profitability, it was a good decision.
Okay. So basically, what you're saying is, I mean, on social media, it can be a double-edged sword. There's a lot of
Mm.
noise which comes on social media. So probably from
Yes.
that perspective, we don't have to take it on the face value. First of all, there are a lot of fake
Mhm.
profiles also on social media. Not everything what people say
Mhm.
on social media is true. So yeah, that is a good observation that you had. Uh, were you also looking forward to forecast demand? Were you doing that, looking at that chart and then looking at your production decision?
Yes, yes, yes. So I was basically looking at the average demand and the median demand.
Okay.
So if in a particular year, so usually it used to happen that out of the 4 years, for one year, it will show a low average and low median demand as compared to the previous years. So I knew that particular year, uh, due to some event, the demand would be low, not just for me, for all the companies.
Hmm.
So that particular year, I tried producing inventory somewhere close to the average demand. I didn't go beyond that.
Hmm.
And for other years, when I saw that the demand is actually on the higher side as compared to
Okay.
the previous year,
Hmm.
I tried going little aggressive.
Okay.
So yeah, because in the initial, in to begin with, we were producing exactly what was the demand.
Hmm.
So I was trying to minimize the inventory, like although the inventory did build up, but then I tried to reduce that build up by trying to uh, predict if I'm going to see a dip in the demand, or I
Hmm.
would be seeing an increase in demand.
Okay. All right. And did the inventory pile up for you at any point of time in the run?
Uh, it did increase, but then what used to happen was, if I am seeing for a particular year,
Hmm.
the demand is actually on the lower side. So I tried to get little conservative and actually produce
Okay.
less quantity.
Hmm. Okay.
So it used to get balanced out.
Okay.
Like like back most of the demand that was met actually by the inventory that was existing
Hmm.
rather than fresh inventory.
Okay. Fair enough. If you look at this last part, then I think this I already mentioned about that there's a lot of descriptive analytics which is there in this simulation. You
Mhm,
do have forecasting which is happening on the predictive part.
mhm,
Prescriptive, not as
mhm,
such, which is coming over here in the simulation. It is more of looking at the data and predictions, and then we are giving in the recommendations.
mhm,
In terms of the way AI frameworks and machine learning algorithms are evolving, maybe going forward we'll have prescriptive analytics as well. That do this and this will happen. Those kind of things or decision making on the basis of data the algos will make. This is already happening in the financial investment industry, for example. Probably we will see it more on the business side as well. Uh, if you also look
right.
at maybe some of the takeaways which we can look at from overall strategy design to turn around Blue's performance in the marketplace, then there are certain decisions like you were mentioning itself that the analytics which was related to maybe social media, maybe that will have a lower weightage, but maybe something which is related to more about your audience and your financials, maybe that is of slightly higher weightage. That will give you more concrete decision making. So yes, there is, from the overall strategy perspective, not all analytical parameters are the same. If you look at this second question, which is how big of a role did each of the following play in the decisions? Why and what were the implications of your decisions? So if you look at product formulation, it did make a difference, because I think you mentioned
Right.
also that there was a different demand for different formulations. So if you
Right.
either you stick to your original formulation, or if you have to change it, then change as initially as possible. If you change
Yes.
multiple times, then I think it will fire back.
Yes. Yes.
So that is
Actually, that is one point where I did go wrong. I was
okay.
trying to find out that sweet spot in terms of product formulation.
Okay.
So in that process, it was little
Hmm.
like fluctuating,
Hmm.
sort of.
Okay. In terms of the product features and positioning, I think this also we discussed. The better consistent the positioning is, if people are liking it, then let's say we stick to it. Sometimes even if social
Yes.
media is saying something else, not necessarily we change. We stick
Right.
as far as the financial numbers are aligned. So I think that is one observation which you have also made.
Right.
In terms of the media channel spending and trade channel spending, did you change anything on this part?
Not actually,
Hmm.
because in terms of media channel and trade channel, I looked at the previous historical trends, and
Okay.
I could clearly see uh, like more percentage on
Hmm.
digital marketing, and I think television. That
Okay.
those were the top two,
Hmm.
and the other two were significantly behind them.
Hmm.
So I focused on spending increases the top two media channels,
Hmm.
and same for the trade channel also.
Okay.
The club store and the convenience store, they were way ahead in terms of
Hmm.
percentage as compared to the other trade channels. So I decided to focus more on them.
Okay.
It was almost like 30-30, and it was all, I can say the top two accounted for
Okay.
60%
Hmm.
of the spending.
Okay. I think this we already discussed about the social sentiment part, so it's covered. Uh, these are some interesting things also to do, which I think we saw one. If you would lower your price dramatically to gain market share, probably it might impact the profits. But if you're able to crack on the volumes, it might favor you as well. But you cannot go below your production cost, of course, because then it doesn't make sense for the business. If you try to appeal
Well,
to a particular, yeah, yeah, you see something?
yes, I was saying that I think the per unit production cost, it was not given in the report. I mean,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
tried looking for actually,
Hmm.
but it was not given. I mean, had it been given, it would have been a good benchmark.
Was it
Otherwise, it was
was it coming in the dashboard? No. Let me just check.
no, no. Uh,
Just
we were
check.
just, I think, given the P&L statement, like revenue, cost, and profit, but production cost,
So you have this now variable cost, but you don't have the quantity
yes, a per
of.
unit cost basically,
So that I think over here, let's say if you look at 2019, $73.9 million is the variable cost.
variable
And
cost.
if we look at revenue, you divide the revenue by your price, you get the quantity. Okay. Then $73.9
Mhm.
million divided by that quantity is the per unit manufacturing cost.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
I
So it was not
understand.
directly mentioned, but it's like a calculated thing, if at all you want to do it.
Mhm.
Okay. Otherwise, what you
Okay.
can also look at is variable cost as a percentage of revenue. That is your
Mhm.
cost of manufacturing.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. And let's go back. Uh, if you try to select or go for a particular geographical region, I mean, this was difficult actually over here in this simulation. It was not that successful in giving you results. First of all, we're doing it only for 4 years. So that's why, I mean, this was it was better to spray and pray, which is you target everyone and then you try to go for it. Did anyone try to go up market with blue and try to compete with turbo? Now, I think I've shown you one, which is where a person has tried to not go to turbo as such. Uh, Maybe this is where it will be a different positioning which has to be done. Product has to be aligned as well. cannot have a substandard product and target a luxury player or a market leader with the highest price. So that is something which probably in the trial run, some people do experiment. And over here, uh, if you see what in your analysis that comes from the descriptive analytics itself. So we are able to see what has happened. Why it has happened is difficult to kind of look at. I mean, you try to look at historical read data and then it makes some sense, but we don't generally get 100% answers on why. The how is the part that we plan. So there is more of anticipation, though we have the data, though we have the experience. But this is something not for both why and how, not everything is crystal clear. And that's how it is on the business side itself. So I think these are some real world situations or learnings that probably we can take forward from this particular simulation. In fact, you can, let's say when you have your free time, maybe you can reflect back on this simulation and try to look at the lessons which anyways we have discussed, but anything else which might be valuable for the industry where you're working, observe around that. Uh, Also, if you look at the analytics in this, a dashboard has been provided to you. But if you have to implement this dashboard in your company's organization, think about how difficult it will be to assemble all the data at one place in that particular context. Okay, so there will be multiple tools, multiple resources, frequency at which things should be updated. So there's a particular uh, design sense or a system which needs to be created for the analytics to be available, which also incurs cost. Uh, if you look at, let's say from the analytics point of view, if we do the decisions solely on the basis of data, it is a good approach, but it can be also a problematic one in case our data is not the right data. The data is not giving the entire picture, or maybe we are too much attached to our data. So then we are not ready to experiment and digest new information. So these are certain things which, if you look at a real world application of analytics when you're managing a company, these are the things that you can also anticipate or think about when you work on database decisions. So I think this is the last part which I have from this particular debriefing. These are some key takeaways which have been just mentioned for you guys to reflect upon, which is data analytics are effective approaches. I mean, there is a slightly better approach to decision making. Initially, it takes time to build these analytic programs, but if you have been able to build a tech stack for your company for capturing analytics, the effort will give you better results over a period of time. And there are various types of analytics which we discussed even in our sessions earlier. It is also important to understand what decision will be based on what variables. People also take time to kind of establish these correlations. Some happen with time and experience as well. Apart from this, making decisions that involve multiple variables can be a very difficult act. Okay, so for example, here also when you are managing a company, you're thinking about all the three things: revenue, market share, profit, maybe other items as well. So it is not very straightforward decision. It involves a lot of iterations and trials as well. So I think this is it from my side for this particular debriefing. Uh, uh, Over to you if you have any questions or queries beyond what we discussed. Okay.
Uh, no, it pretty much summarizes it quite well. Uh, and I actually had a question related to the TE, not
Hmm.
exactly to the simulation. So
Okay.
uh, I was just asking that for the TE, like we need to more focus on the presentation slides or
The presentation
on
slides
the
are enough. Hmm.
presentation slides.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Hmm.
Okay.
You can refer only to the presentation slide. That should be good to go.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And another question I had, it was not exactly to the course, but I'm little digressing it from the
Hmm.
course. Like
Hmm.
I like I'm looking to actually make a switch in my career
Hmm.
from a technical role to a marketing role.
Hmm.
Like that is one of the motivations for me to
Hmm.
actually take up this particular executive MBA program. So I
Hmm.
wanted to know, like, for someone who doesn't have a background in
Hmm.
marketing
Hmm.
uh, whatsoever, so from which point does he begin? I mean,
Yeah.
considering the person is coming from a pure technical background.
Hmm. Yeah. So see, I think I've seen some examples in
Mm-hmm,
the company that I'm working at itself at Vodafone Idea. So
mm-hmm,
what happens is inside marketing,
mm-hmm,
uh, now companies have generally a big data team. Okay,
mm-hmm,
they might call it big data team or analytics or
mm-hmm,
even AI and machine learning and so on and so forth. So or
mm-hmm,
they call it technology team as well at times. So what
mm-hmm,
happens is inside these teams, uh, you have the analytic roles which power the marketing decisions.
okay.
So I think that is one channel through which people are shifting from technical to the marketing orientation. And then over a
Mm,
period of time, they perform and then also go into the core marketing areas. Okay. Similarly,
okay.
if you look at Amazon, so Amazon has a customer experience technology team. Okay,
Mm-hmm,
which is coming under marketing itself. Okay, so they interact a lot with marketing because it involves, let's say, as a tech person,
mm-hmm,
how you can set up a tech system uh,
mm-hmm,
to capture some of the data points, which will
mm-hmm,
help us to improve the customer journey, their experience
mm-hmm,
in the digital world. So
mm-hmm,
those are certain areas which I think you may want to look at. If you have, I mean, let's say data analytics is one piece. If you're good with Python, if you're good with Python or R SQL, it
mm-hmm,
still builds your profile further. And maybe a slight bent on market research. Uh, I mean, under marketing, you have market research models like regression, uh,
mm-hmm,
or let's say setting up correlations, some other broad studies where you can use your tech experience and deliver on those
mm-hmm.
uh, functions. Then I think this is where there are roles which are available. Okay, so you can start with that.
And is it a prerequisite that one needs to have a good grasp on Google Analytics or
No, I
Hootsuite?
no, no, no.
It's not a prerequisite.
No, 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 no. And by the way, even for things like Google Analytics and all, see, you should know the concept. Even if you're not
Mm-hmm,
hands-on, you should know what comes from Google Analytics. That's it. Okay. And how is it
okay.
broad structured? You should be able to maybe speak of 4 or 5 sentences because no one
Mm-hmm,
is going to ask you that what is there in the audience report of Google Analytics. Okay.
mm-hmm,
That way things won't happen. But if you have
okay.
the conceptual clarity, I think then that is good to go. Okay. The
Okay.
only challenge which I see for people who come from technology background and then start working under marketing is that the way their mind works uh, is not the marketing mind. Okay. So
Okay.
what happens is when you go, let's say in my case, before becoming a marketer, or let's say before my MBA, I had a very, very different mindset when I graduated as an electronics and communication engineer. At that point of time, I think the thought process is very different. We
Mm-hmm,
are not able to think like a marketer. Uh,
mm-hmm,
After you do your MBA, then I think the way you think about customers, a business, that changes fundamentally. So
mm-hmm,
that can be a challenge. So even I've seen people who are working in, let's say, uh, technology teams, in these big data teams and all, uh, they are very good with, let's say, managing things in Excel, using tools, building
mm-hmm.
analytics, but they don't know the business. So that
Okay.
business sense is something which misses at times when people switch from technology without an MBA and directly into
Okay.
marketing or any other function. Okay.
Basically,
One
the skill to interpret the business as a whole.
correct, correct. Yeah. So the business somehow misses. Okay.
Mm-hmm,
So and you can differentiate. You can differentiate yourself between a person who's coming from a MBA background or
mm-hmm.
a non-MBA background. And this is even in case if you have a sales experience. So you will also
Okay.
see that the person who has come from sales background has a very different mindset as
Mm-hmm.
compared to a marketer.
Right, right, right.
So those things are noticeable. I mean, these are the challenge is not to, uh, I mean, maybe you will get the switch, you will get the role. The challenge is, will you be able to justify in that role beyond the point? Because I think most of the time when you grow in your career, especially after 15 years of work experience or more than that, you don't want to work on operational things. I mean, operational
Right,
things
right, exactly.
which comes monotonous again and again, again and
Right,
again. Every day the
right,
same thing. So
right.
that is something where we need to get the work done. I mean, someone will do the
Okay.
operational aspects. I need to think on tactical or strategic aspects. Uh,
Right,
how in a new way we can look at the business. So that
right, right.
aspect is something which needs to be there. And
Okay.
which is where I think these simulations actually are better off to learn, because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise we don't get those opportunities.
True, true, quite
Yeah,
true, in fact.
yeah.
Yes. So, like, will it be correct to say that for someone who is coming from a technical background, it is better, it is more recommended if he actually takes up a role in the sales before moving to marketing?
So basically, the thing is, first of all, technology to sales is a difficult transition, and
Mm-hmm.
from sales to marketing is another different difficult transition.
Okay.
So what what I would suggest is directly go from technical to where you want to land up.
Marketing.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And after you land up, then interact with the sales team, learn how these people generally interact, what are they doing, maybe take some small sales assignment. Those kind of
Mm-hmm.
things you do after you land up where you want it to be, because we have a limited career span, right? And
Right.
sales can be very draining. So it is
Mm-hmm.
good to do sales before we are like 35, maybe before 30 itself.
Mm-hmm.
Before 30,
Right.
we are very raw. And then
Right.
there is less ego, there is less, I mean, we are more in the
Mm-hmm.
listening mode. So more patience
Mm-hmm.
is there.
Right.
After 30s,
Right.
actually, after especially after marriage and all, your patience level is already there at home. So
Right.
getting back into business is itself a difficult ball game. So then after
Mm-hmm.
30s, I would let's say in my case, I preferred to be in marketing, because sales again, target pressure and all those things. There are some people who love sales. Okay. So in my case also, I
Mm-hmm.
used to love sales, but I love B2B sales. B2C is
Mm-hmm.
very, so that's how.
Right. 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 I asked this question because
Hmm.
like if I talk about myself, I have around close to 8 years of experience
Hmm.
combined in operations as well as
Okay.
project management, contract management,
Hmm.
these kind of roles. And
Hmm.
now after my executive MBA, I am actually
Hmm.
thinking of transitioning into a marketing role because marketing is something
Hmm.
I really enjoyed throughout my MBA out of
Okay.
finance, supply chain,
Yeah.
marketing, and other domains.
Yeah.
So, I was wondering, how to actually position myself uh,
Hmm.
because since considering the fact that I come from a operation
Hmm.
background with some experience in project and contract management, uh, marketing is a whole new world,
Hmm.
and how to go into it and actually
Hmm.
get a position that was little tricky for me. So that's
Hmm.
the reason actually I asked.
Yeah, so basically, so let's say in my case also, I was like, I worked for 3.5 years before doing an
Mm,
MBA.
mm,
And after doing an MBA, it was like I was not clear what I'll do
mm,
after an
mm,
MBA. It just naturally happened that I figured out that marketing is something which is coming naturally to me.
yes.
Because when I went for an MBA, I thought I'll do finance. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
do a bank or something. But
Yes.
then I figured out that naturally I am not a good finance or a accounts person. I would
Mm-hmm.
be naturally good at marketing. And
Mm-hmm.
this is where I love to talk to people. And
Mm-hmm.
this is where I think I understand people easier as compared to
Yes.
values.
Yes. It has a sort of aspect
Yeah,
of people actually,
correct.
in addition to the numbers.
Yeah. So if you're a like if you're a lively character, if you want to
Mm-hmm.
be among the people, then
Mm-hmm.
I think finance is a very boring role in that. Uh,
Yes. Yes. Agreed.
it's a desk one. I don't want to be at the desk.
Mm-hmm.
So, which was a good realization to have. And then what happens in marketing? I mean, obviously in finance also there would be a lot of variations, and people enjoy that. But in marketing, uh, you can market different things, different industries, different products. in marketing also you can be into brand management, or you can be into advertising and so on and so forth. Uh, Especially if you want to start up something on your own, marketing is a fundamental skill. फाइनेंस तो बाद में आता है, पर
Right, right,
पहले प्रोडक्ट बनाना है और सेल करना है.
right,
तो
right.
which which is what my orientation was when and for me it just naturally happened. So yeah, I think in your case, after being there in 7 or 8 years in operations, means that you're doing the same task every day, and that is where people find it very
Mhm.
monotonous, and then you try to move
Right.
out. Generally, that
Yes,
happens. Uh,
yes.
एंड इवन इफ यू चेंजिंग इंडस्ट्रीज, सब जगह यही सेम सिचुएशन होता है. हम डेली में वो 1-2 साल में या 3 साल में तो बोर ही हो जाते हैं.
Right.
या सो उसके बाद then people do think about doing an MBA and all. But see, one thing will be, it will be easier for you in your current organization to switch to marketing.
Okay.
That is the easiest piece uh,
Mm-hmm.
to crack, or maybe in the same sector.
Mm-hmm.
And beyond that,
Right.
of course, जो सेल्स वाला माइंडसेट होता है वो काम करता ही रहता है कि हम 10 जगह अप्लाई करेंगे, एक जगह हो जाएगा इंटरव्यू,
Mm.
वो क्लियर हो जाए. So
Right.
yeah, you can think about it.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
All right, chalo,
Thank
best of
you.
luck to you, and we'll catch up if there are any more sessions. All right, thank you, bye, take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Good night.